Hi everyone, let's understand rent and Ricardian theory of rent, then modern theory of rent. Rent is also one of the factors of production. So rent means how could you define term rent? That is the price which the owner of land gets for allowing its use is generally termed as rent. You have piece of land and this piece of land it is used by someone and against this he or she will pay you rent. Rent means a payment made for the use of a material asset for a specific period of time. But when we will talk about economic rent means that refers to only to the price paid for the use of land. It is taken in the sense of surplus payment or additional payment made to a factor not because of any effort or activity on the part of the owner but because of imperfect elastic supply of the factor. Economic rent is taken as a surplus payment. Here is Ricardian theory of rent. Ricardo said the rent is a surplus. Rent, what is this rent? Rent is a surplus which accrues to the owner of the land by reason of relative advantages of fertility or of location or both, which a particular plot of land enjoys over less productive plots. So we can say rent can arise due to two reasons. One is difference in productivity of various pieces of land, then is situational differences. If you can see in any city, if that property or that land is located in the heart of the city, that would be costlier as compared to the that piece of land that is located in the outer circle of the city, or where is the all the utilities are nearby, that land would be costlier or that property will be costlier as comparatively to that piece of land where is the utility like hospital, railway station and other kind of utilities, those are far away from this piece of land. So we can say Ricardo, that is why Ricardo said rent is a surplus which accrues to the owner, right, of the land by reason of relative advantages of fertility. If that land for the agriculture purpose, that land, that piece of land, there is the productivity is high, that would be costlier as comparatively to the barren land or where is the nothing we can grow up, nothing we can produce, that is comparatively that would be on the lesser price. Assumptions of the theory, that is fixed supply of land, because they said land is fixed, land is supply of the land is fixed, we are assuming that is limited, so we cannot increase or decrease. When the quantity of the this one is the demanded high, then we cannot increase, it's not like units of the product, and we cannot decrease when the when this demand of that land piece of land is low. Next one is, here is indestructible power. The piece of the land will have its fertility of the same type forever. Land is supposed to be non-perishable factor production. If there is the Ganga side river Ganga side piece of land that is more fertile, and that would be always would be like that. It's not possible like when you are producing something after that, that is reducing. No, then is we are talking about cultivation in order of fertility. The land is used in order of the fertility and the order is diminishing. The most fertile land is used first and its next grade it is used afterward. So cultivation in order of fertility. Then we come to the law of diminishing return. Law of diminishing return in agriculture or land. On the other hand, population increases at an increasing rate. So diminishing return, that means I had already explained you in terms of production function. Then the differences in fertility. Ricardo also supposed that the different land have differences in their fertility. Some piece of land are more than others. As I said earlier also, nearby Ganga River, that is the land is more fertile as comparatively to other land. Then is perfect competition. The law is also based on perfect competition because we are presuming this Ricardo theory that is based on perfect competition, not imperfect competition. Then the seventh one is marginal land. Marginal land, that is also termed as no rent land. I mean, whereas we are not getting any rent, is a piece of land which is just covering its cost with market value of its produced output. In other words, marginal land is that grade of land after which no inferior land is used. Income from it is equal to its cost. Whatever is the cost, that is just you are returning back. Long run. The theory, it is based on the assumption of the long run, because this Ricardo theory, that is not based on short run. Long run means all the factors of production are variable, nothing is fixed. Free gift, that means we are this theory is believe in this piece of land, or this is the land that is free gift. Then the explanation of this theory, particularly, Ricardo said the rent arises not due to kindness of nature, but due to the, here is the niggardliness of nature. In Ricardo's views, two facts leads to it. One is land is fixed in supply and it differs in fertility from area to area. So Ricardo considered land as a surplus which arises due to the differences among plots of lands in fertility. Then the land which has higher productivity than its marginal land is called intermarginal land. And according to Ricardo, rent is a surplus, which is the difference between the values of the output of marginal and intermarginal land. So hence, all the plots of land which produces more than the marginal land earn rent. So we can say that Ricardo believed rent to be a differential surplus earned by intermarginal land over and above the earning of the marginal land. So always Ricardo believed in that is surplus, right? We can call it, this is the rent is a surplus, which is the difference between the values of output of marginal and the intermarginal lands. Then next is came to in practice modern theory of rent. So Ricardian theory explains only that the more fertility land produces more than the cost of cultivation, and hence they get the surplus called rent. But how rent is determined? So simply this question has been answered by modern economists, that is developed a demand and supply theory for the purpose. So like the prices of the product and other factors, rent is also determined by the forces of the demand and supply. Let's say you have heart of the city where is the land demand is on the higher side and supply is very limited, so ultimately prices would be shoot up, prices would be on the higher side. So this theory, that is called scarcity theory of rent. Also the theory explains that the rent does not arise due to fertility difference of the land alone, but also due to greater demand in relation to the supply of all factors. Explanation, demand side and supply side. Here is land, say for instance, is demanded for its produce. The higher the produce, the greater is the demand of the land. I said earlier also, when there is this is the piece of the land that is demanded more, price of this particular land or rent of that particular land would be on the higher side. A firm will pay rent equal to the marginal revenue productivity of land. The demand curve of a factor is therefore negatively sloped, which means more land will be used only at lower rent, other things, of course, remaining the constant or remaining the same. But the supply side, if we will talk about, that is the industry is quite elastic. It can be shifted to other uses of offering higher price than that being earned by it now. So supply of the factors of the industry is therefore rent elastic. Right? That would be elastic. Higher rent, that would be demand would be less, and the low rent that would on the higher side. Demand of the property would be on the higher side. If higher rent is paid, the supply of a factor can be increased by withdrawing it from other uses. So the supply curve of a factor slope down upward or to the right. Demand curve, that would be downward sloping and supply curve would be upward sloping. The equilibrium point of the industry is where the demand and supply land equal that curves to each other. That would be the price would be established, right? I hope you understand that would be, this is the supply curve, this is the demand curve, and this point, that is the equilibrium point on which the rent of any property or any land would be settled down. So this is as per the modern theory. And I hope this rent theory would be clear to you. There are two aspects we have discussed. Number one is what is rent, and under this, we have done classical theory, or we can call it Ricardian theory of rent, that is entirely based on surplus. Means they were calling it, Ricardo had called it rent is it is a surplus. But another theory came into practice that is based on, that is modern theory of rent, and that is based on demand and supply, whereas the equilibrium would be settled down. So I hope both these theories is clear to you. So rent theory are clear. I hope this video would be helpful, and keep watching and stay tuned. Thank you.